Major League Journeymen back in action. We got Mr. Alan Gordon, fresh with his pencil-thin mustache, looking like Gomez from the Addams Family. We got Dax McCarty, who is joining us from – we don't know where he's actually joining us from. He's joining us from the offseason, maybe retirement, maybe in free agency, could be in contract negotiations. There could be a lot of things here right now for Mr. Dax McCarty. We'll have to get into that. But we also have a special guest in Thomas Rongen, an honorary journeyman, if I do say so myself, with a decorated, illustrious career, Thomas, all over the place as a player, as a coach, as a broadcaster. Man, you've seen it all and touched just about every corner of the world. We are delighted and honored to have you join us here in Major League Journeyman. We hope you're just as excited as Gordo is. Where are you right now? Can you tell us where you're coming from?
I'm in a typical Florida downpour right now. I'm sitting literally on the ground in front of the Communication Architectural, the Arts of FIU. Across the street is the Wynwood Convention Center, where I'm a VIP representing the 15 Dutch companies. And I'm talking to, well, maybe I might be the best judge of journeyman, by the way. I think between clubs played and clubs coached, close to 30. Only 30. Only Freddie and Duke and you okay? Yeah, my man. Say hi to the guys over here. This is my cat right here. Not a little bit. Okay,
and we get a
This
guest.
is my man.
There he is. What's up, man?
Very good.
I love
He's
it.
just making sure he's
fellow
playing to
journeyman.
stay alive.
I love it.
Dude, 30 clubs. That's absolutely incredible. I was doing a little recon, and I knew a little bit about your career as a coach. Just to be honest, in Major League Soccer, you were a recipient of Coach of the Year with Tampa Bay, been to a couple different clubs. I remember you being with kind of loosely with Chivas USA there, kind of in their spell. And then also when you were up at TFC, the academy director with them, right? But I didn't realize Coach of the Year, APSL, so the Arena League, right? Also high school, collegiate. You've been international coach of the U20s. You got to coach our fellow journeyman and Dax here.
Yep.
Where was that U20s? Dax, where did you
That
play
was
that?
207 in Canada.
In Canada. In all over Canada? Anywhere in particular?
We started in Montreal, where we tied Korea, beat Poland, and then not a
Toronto.
must win, but we beat Brazil in Ottawa
Yep.
to win the group. And then we went next to Toronto, the round of 16 against Uruguay with Jules Valentin and Nathan Stewart, the two college guys. And I remember this vividly. I've been playing against Suarez and Cavani up front for Uruguay. So I go to these two, seriously, I go to these two cats. I go, listen, I got some footage, one is a little taller, smaller movement. And they both go, dude, we put Pato and Joe in our pocket against Brazil when we beat them 2-1. No, really, dudes, this is like Nathan, quiet, no problem. And I'm inside, I'm going, fuck. These guys should see this. But on the day, they put Suarez and Cavani, so two college guys versus Suarez, who just signed for Ajax at that time, in their back pocket, and we win 3-2 in OT by Michael Bradley scoring the winner, which was a fun run, actually.
TR, I don't know if you remember this, but I believe, we scored in extra time to take the lead, but we were down a man, actually. Were we not down a man? Because I think Anthony Wallace got sent off.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know I don't know if you remember this, but you actually moved me to play right fullback to finish the game out. And I vividly remember, I think Suarez, I forgot which one, Suarez or Cavani, was playing right winger. And I remember when I got moved to right fullback, their coach strategically told them to switch to the left side to go one-on-one against me. And it was me, Jules, and Nathan. And, I want to be included in that shutting down of those two superstars, as it would turn out to be. But what a great experience that was. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a brilliant tactical shift. One of your better ones.
That happened in the 93rd minute, by the way.
Yeah.
It went to extra time, so there was 30 extra minutes. So yes.
Correct.
Man,
and
that's
I tell you,
great.
and then afterwards, we had a big fight, man, on the field,
Yes.
going to the tunnel, police, Dax is in the middle, throwing punches.
That's it.
Michael
Haymakers.
Going over the top was great.
That's incredible. I don't know if I've ever heard of Dax being a contender in a fight or
Baby.
a winner.
He usually just starts it and gets
Just
out of
starts
the
it run.
I have to say, I want just to button this up, Thomas. I want to ask you, because you've coached a lot of teams, you've coached a lot of great teams. That team in particular, that U20 team in 2007 in Canada, we ended up losing to Austria, unfortunately, in the quarterfinals. And it was my opinion that we were probably, after being a part of the tournament, watching all the games, we were probably the second best team in that tournament. Only, not quite as good as the Argentina team that ended up winning it. I want to know what your opinion of that team was in general, because it was still a huge regret and frustration that we lost to Austria and didn't give ourselves a chance to go to a semifinal and a final and maybe win it. But I had the feeling that was one of the better teams, the more talented teams that I had played for and been on. I'm curious your thoughts on where that team ranked in your pantheon of teams.
Without a doubt, my first one was 203, and that was a pretty decent team too. Eddie Johnson actually was the golden. So it was Eddie Johnson, Bobby Convey, Ricardo Clark, Ned Grabavoy, Santino Caranta, Mike McGee, who scored the winner against Uruguay. Freddie actually had an injury, came late, spent a little bit on the left. Chet Marshall, Ryan Cochran, Drew Moore, Zach Whitbread. That was a pretty
Dude, that's a squad
that's a
right
team.
there, Thomas.
I know, but just like Dex, who was a very good player at the moment, my starting 11 was pretty darn good. And Clint Dempsey was on the 20 team, and Clint played just like Dex a few minutes, but a few important minutes for us. So there we go to around the 16. We beat Ivory Coast. We lose in OT against Argentina. But fast forward to 207 Dex, I think that team was better balanced. I think also out of that group, more guys played more games on the Olympic and senior level.
Yep.
Josie comes to mind. Michael comes to mind. Even guys like
Robbie Rogers.
Drew Moore. Exactly. That's Celciso and Robbie Rogers out wide. I mean, that was Josie, Freddie. Only if we all knew what Denny Satella maybe did wrong. Satella. You're right. We had some juice on the outside. We had some skill on the inside. We beat Brazil with David Luiz, Marcelo, and even that Uruguay team. When I look back now, 5 of those guys have played 100-plus games for their senior team. And on the day, we beat them. And in that tournament, maybe third Dax, because you remember we played a friendly doubleheader in Giant Stadium with the women's national team against Chile.
Yep, I remember.
And that was the golden generation of Chile, and also the golden generation of Uruguay that we played. And Brazil, as I said again, that's 5 guys that played also 80 games for their senior team. And on the day, we were as good or better. Probably, I agree with you. Out of all 3 teams I coached, probably the best team, best balance, and also the atmosphere in the group was pretty special. The one thing that I regret, I was jumping the gun. I remember calling Dan Flynn and Sunil after we beat Uruguay and went, guys, come over because we're going to the final, because the bracket was perfect for us.
Yeah, it was.
No Argentina, no Chile, it was Austria, I think the Czech Republic. So I go, fuck, we got a chance here.
Yep.
And Freddie gets, you remember 2 breakaways
I remember. We should have won the game against Austria, and for whatever reason, we couldn't pull it out. But that was a really fun team to be a part of, and I thoroughly enjoyed that whole run that we had.
And also bittersweet, Dex, for you, which was a bone of contention between the 2 of us, that I didn't bring you to qualifying.
I know. I'm glad you remembered that. I was very mad at you.
And then I included you in the.
Come upstairs.
No, this is my environment now. Look, I appreciate it though. All right.
Hey, Thomas, tell them to get out of your office.
So I left Dex off the qualifying team, which was not an easy decision, and was a little bit based on Dex was not a happy sitter, and I figured,
sure.
And I think
that's surprising.
And correct me, Dex, if I'm wrong. I think I tried to explain that to you, and then you went back to your club, and all of a sudden, boom, there you go. You're playing, you're starting, and you seem to be, which you are, don't get me wrong, a good team guy. And I said, you know what, he deserves to be there. And I'm glad that limited minutes that you played, that you contributed in that win against Uruguay, for instance. So,
I appreciated you remembering that, because that was a very difficult moment in my career. I've actually used that moment to talk to like younger groups of kids that have asked me about like hardships in my career that I had to get through. And that was a big one, because up until that moment, I had usually made most of the teams that I was either trying out for, or, you know, regional teams and ODP teams. And that was the first time that I had experienced something like that. And I felt in the moment that it was unfair, and I felt sorry for myself, and I was effing you off to the moon and back. But like you said, I used it as fuel and motivation. And when we ended up qualifying, I told myself in that moment, I'm going to be a part of that team no matter what. And, you know, I did well enough to go, and you gave me the chance, and I didn't start any games. And it's funny because I didn't start any game, but if we would have made the semifinal, I believe Michael was suspended because he had yellow card accumulation. So he was suspended for the semifinal if we would have made it there. And I think I would have gotten the nod from you. I don't know. I wasn't sure, but I think I would have been the guy that would have started for him in his place. And it was a good lesson for me, and I'm very appreciative of you for that lesson.
Thomas, you've been around soccer and the game, but also I think the youth game for a really long time. Just listening to you guys rattle off those names was that was fun. I mean, for all of those individuals that we've played against for the majority of our careers, what do you think the difference is between those teams that was pulling results and pulling success against the teams that you mentioned, against Uruguay, against Brazil, versus what our U20s and our U23s are having struggles with now in not even qualifying? Like, what's the difference in player profile from your vantage point?
That's a great question, because if I go back to when I got in 2000, I think Bruce Arena appointed me as the under-20 coach. The team was predominantly college players. I mean, Clint was still playing at Furman. Marshall was at Stanford. Ryan Copeland was at Santa Clara. Right. Drew Moore, I think transferred to Indiana.
IU? I think he was in IU, Indiana.
Correct. So the interesting part is that even any given day in those years, including 2007, where there were more pros on the team, don't get me wrong, we could, which we've proven at the under 17 and under 20 level, that we can make a run. I mean, talk about a run. I think that first U17 group, first Bradenton U17 group, and Dex was part of the IMG Academy there under, what was the coach again? They went to the semifinals.
John
and that was
Ellinger.
the group of, John Ellinger was like Lennon Donovan, DeMarcus, Gooch, maybe Bobby Convey.
Kyle
And now you fast
Beckerman,
forward
Bobby
from there to here, and you're still wondering how far we've come in our player development, quite frankly. Now, I look at the under 20 roster, for instance. The majority are not only pro, but they're also playing abroad. So their experiences right now are a lot higher from a training and playing perspective than it was in 2002 or 2005. And in 2005, by the way, we beat Argentina in the first game, and Messi plays his first game for the Argentinian national team. They go on to win it eventually, although we beat them. We lose in a round of 16. But at any given day, as I said again, Nathan Sturridge and Jules Valentin, one played for Wake Forest, one for Clemson, literally on the day, fairly easily put Cavani and Suarez in their back pocket.
How about that?
Where is the disconnect still? I talk about those generational guys that Dex was part of, that were winners, that loved to compete, that also felt were not appreciated around the world. So that was a great driving force. And I didn't really develop, because at my level, as I said again, I get them for 2 weeks, then they go back to their clubs and their schools. So we won most games we played in, be it friendlies qualifying or World Cup qualifying. Both the two instances I mentioned, 2007, 2008, we're in the round of 8, and you're right. You look, as of late, the Olympic team, our senior team in 2018, which are flukes a little bit, you wonder. Saying that, I think we're clearly turning the corner with guys playing in Europe, but also MLS doing a much better job in investing in their academies. And it's bearing fruit, not only within MLS when we see these young players compete, but also now selling guys at 16, 17. I looked at the under-17 team. There's like 5 guys in Europe, 2 at Eintracht Frankfurt, 1 plays for Liverpool, I think. That was unheard of then. And eventually, you need to turn that into success on the highest level. Does that mean in 26 we win it? No. Do I feel at home we have a chance to go to the semis maybe, based on potential and that team being in their prime, or most of these guys being in their prime in terms of age, which means then the Pulisics are, 27, 28, 29. Pretty amazing. And pretty amazing that we got 2 guys starting, if they're healthy, for AC Milan, 2 guys starting for Juventus, guys in the Bundesliga who's turning up right now. We got guys, in the EPL playing week in, week out against the best players in the world. Fulham comes to mind, obviously. So those experiences for those players are so vastly different than ours. But let's face it, we're a handball away with Bruce Arena in 202, and we deserve to go to the semifinals against Germany. So now you go take Bruce Arena's team in 202 and fast forward to all these.
Torsten Frings, man, I had a go at him when we played together in Toronto. That guy.
And you fast forward now to all these guys that are playing in big clubs in Europe, but still probably can't figure out how to beat the better teams. And the Netherlands wasn't a great team, but clinically we got played off the pitch, very similar to the first game in these friendlies where we kicked our ass a little bit in a very methodical way as well. What were the last 2 friendlies that the U.S. national team played? We lost the first game.
Germany. We got smacked by Germany. And
Correct.
Then we played Senegal.
And then we in Senegal is a poor team.
Ghana.
But again, so I go back to, okay, what's the learning lesson against the Netherlands? All right. Although the Netherlands sit a little deeper and countered and had 4 chances to bury 3. The Germans had a little bit more possession, but also so clinical in the final third. We have great periods. We can't put a great 90 minutes together against the big nations yet. So then I go from 202 to now and I say, how much better have we become? In the broader sense, we're creating more players. We're still not creating a top 5 player in the world. And all the teams that are successful have top players in the top 10 in the world, and we're stretching the service. Maybe it's mentality, because the Dex McCarty generation were tough mofos, by the way. And they relish challenges like that. We seem a little soft, in my opinion, physically and mentally in this group here. I'm not sure if Berhalter can change that.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're missing any of the? I know that college soccer is a detriment to our development, but do you think that those players learned anything in college that put them together and made them? Because college, all it's about is being rah-rah teammates. Did those teams take any of that college rah-rah, and were they just better teammates and a better unit than the individual kids that we have that are obviously better now? Is there anything to be said with that?
That's a great point, Gordo. I've never really thought of it that way, but if I think about it real quickly right now, based on your statement, I say absolutely. We create, not only here but in the rest of the world. Our soccer legend from the Netherlands is Johan Neeskens. 74, 78 World Cup final, 3 European championship with Ajax, late 60s, early 70s, 150 games for Barcelona, gave Messi with Frank Rijkaard his debut for Barcelona. We were talking about it. He goes, because there was a session on mental whatever, and Neeskens goes, fuck that. He goes, in our time, you know what? If 80,000 people whistle against me, now they're talking about, I'm a little intimidated. I need to talk to somebody and get myself in the zone. And he went, this is insane, he goes,
Yeah.
But, he comes from the streets. where they tackled on the streets, where cars were goals, where, I don't think we create enough street kids. And going back to mentality in college, yes, Gordo was a little bit rah-rah, and those guys, and I knew how to tap into that, Mm-hmm. We can't play. These guys don't respect you. Ball. Let's go. Ricardo Clark, guys like that. Yeah, they wanted to kick some lumps.
Absolutely. I was going to say that some of those names you mentioned, we took just as much pride going through the college ranks in the late night beer pong game, I think, as we did when we got up the next day and went to training. And I think that translated into what MLS 2.0 was, because as you're going through those names, Chad Marshall and Ryan Cochran, and I am visualizing the battles between Gordo and Chad Marshall just over and over and over again, every inch of every space. And I don't know if I really see that type of competitive nature, just fiery nastiness that is within our game any longer. And maybe I'm wrong, but Gordo, does that you spanned a pretty good spectrum, I guess, from the 2004 season, that was your rookie year, right? To when you finished up, and it was definitely a different game by the time you finished up. Were your battles within that center back, that 9 role, were they different at the beginning than they were at the end?
That's really all I had. So I had to,
well, I know your game didn't evolve. I'm talking about the players you played against.
I had to stick with it. Yeah, but I remember, I started battling against Chad in college. I was Oregon State. He was Stanford, and that's all we did. It was aerial battles, and we did it for the next 17 years. It never changed between us. But yeah, the game has certainly changed. I don't know if I see those type of aerial battles, where everybody plays out of the back now. So back then, goalies were taking goal kicks 95% of the time, and there was an aerial duel every single goal kick. Now it just doesn't happen. The game has completely evolved and changed, and so the game is just not as aerial. And back in those days, we had English coaches that were over here, and it was very direct play. It was up, back, and through, forward holding it, laying it off, very simple. My first coach, I was trying to do step overs and thought I was nice. And he said, all right, let me just tell you how to make the team. He said, hold it.
Give it to somebody else.
And get in the box. Don't do anything else. And I said, okay. And then I did that for the next 10 years. So it's changed, man. I think we need a little bit of that physicality. Some guys still have it, but the game's different for sure.
Yeah.
And to latch on to that, what you said then, and what Gordo said, I came to the United States in 1979 to be coached by Rinus Michels, the founder of Total Football, and my teammate is Johan Cruyff. I'm 21 years old and I'm pinching myself. That's wild. These guys partied hard. Our sessions were tougher than games.
Yep.
And guys were looking. If I break this guy's leg, I'll start the next game because that's my position. And these guys would basically drink themselves to sleep, and then the next day, all up front, going, yeah, let's sweat this shit out. Let's go, boys. That was the mentality, And I'm going to Gordo back then also. Yeah, aerial duels. So I think that we're creating in our environment here, yes, it's beautiful, ball on the ground. We're creating softer players that technically are more gifted, but not necessarily doing anything with their skill set, because I still think that we don't have a level of, and aggression is maybe not the right, emotional intelligence, whatever it takes to win games and those kind of things. And that's why I took teams every cycle to see a Boca River game. And I remember Chet Marshall, because I said to the guy, put us as close to the Bar Brava. So we're in there an hour, half an hour. Chet Marshall comes and goes, Coach, it looks like it's really dangerous here. These guys are climbing the fences. What are they doing? Oh, yeah, Chet. Welcome to the real world. These guys open from the favela, He goes, Coach, I have a girlfriend. I just bought a dog, I can't, what are you doing here,
I just bought a poodle.
I'm going, dude. I know.
He's like, Coach, this isn't the gated community I'm from.
I just bought a mini min pin poodle mixture.
And Chip Marshall still to this day, in my opinion, was the best 18-year-old center back I've ever coached. He had everything, you know. But at the end, just didn't want to be maybe much injury prone, but still carved out a great career. Obviously, could have done more about that.
He did have a pretty impressive career. You're talking about mentality, and you're talking, you know, we're obviously covering our national teams and the youth national teams in those World Cups and that process. But then you left there and you went to American Samoa. And now you're having a movie released about the experience, right? I think it opens this Friday. Searchlight Pictures. You got Michael Fassbender playing you, which as I'm watching Gordo talk, I'm thinking this could be a young Thomas Rongen here in Alan Gordon. So my first question is Michael Fassbender handsome enough to play you in this movie? Are we confident with that decision?
Dude, I'm a single guy. I got late twice in the last 2 weeks because Fassbender's playing me in the movie. And I'm 67 then. So you know what I mean? It's all good.
All good. So we'll check that box. Yes, that's good. Gordo is not in that category, so he's out. What was that process like? How did you end up in American Samoa? Because the only person that I know of that ends up in that part of the world is AJ De La Garza when he decided to not play for Puerto Rico and ended up playing for Guam. And he started to, you know, go on those trips with that national team and that experience. But that was, I think, out of left field. And I mean, I was playing at the time when we saw you take that leap and go over there and leave kind of what the U.S. soccer confines or construction looks like. And you've obviously been deeply embedded into it for a long time. How did you make that decision?
Yeah, it's a great story. Well, I was the under-20 coach, and as you guys know, there's times in between camps because guys got to go back to their clubs. The later we go through the process, the more guys are playing for pro clubs. So you get them in for 2 weeks, you get them in for qualifying, whatever. So I had about a month off, and Snugalati called me late December 2010 and said, we have a American territory called, just like the one, American Samoa, and they really need some help. So I go, actually, there's a buddy, I go, where's American Samoa? He goes, next to fucking Fiji. I go, yeah, I'm in. Just not knowing anything. So I put the phone down. The guy started Googling. He goes, by the way, they're ranked last in FIFA. They're the worst team in the world, TR. I go, okay, what else? They lost 31-0 in a qualifying game in Australia, which is a record. By the way, TR, they haven't won in 20 years, and they haven't scored a goal in 20 years. No, so I go to this island, and there's some camera guys there already, English guys, young guys, that just came there to see what did these amateurs come back, get their heads handed to them, 20-0, 28-0, 31-0. They keep coming back for more with smiles on their face. So that was more a human interest story. We beat Tonga 2-1, becomes world news. I play a transgender. It's the first transgender ever in a men's World Cup qualifying game against Tonga. And these guys goes, we have a documentary, which came out in 2014. So it airs in the Tribeca Film Festival. I'm sitting next to The Rock because he's from Samoa and he was promoting the movie in New York. And next to The Rock is another guy. So after the movie, everybody kind of liked it. This small guy goes, by the way, I'm going to turn this into a movie. I go, yeah, okay, whatever. Fast forward to 2019, he goes, my name is Taiki Waititi. I just won an Oscar for Jojo Rabbit. I just finished Thor for Disney. I want to go back to my Polynesian roots. I'm from New Zealand, from an indigenous tribe. And Michael Fassbender is going to play it. So fast forward to now, because of COVID, it took a little bit longer. Indeed, Michael Fassbender is playing Thomas Magneto. Is playing Thomas Rongen. You know? I mean, are you kidding me?
That's an incredible. I mean, that is wild stuff. Where was the most significant moment when you reflect back on that experience? What was the most significant game?
Well, on the mental part, I had really 3 weeks to prepare. Less than 3 weeks, actually. But I'd watch tapes of them and their opponents. I go, there's no way, because these other teams weren't that good. If I tactically set them up a little bit differently, technically try to make them a little bit better. But at the end, I had to turn a losing mentality into a winning mentality. So I did two things on purpose. The first day,
Excuse me, sir. Would you mind because this is not safe for you to be here, though?
Yeah, no, but we're live.
We're finishing up in a second, my man.
On ABC right now, so I'm fine. Nobody's touched me. Nothing. I'm fine.
No, because this doesn't look safe to me. If you want to go to
sir, 5 minutes.
2 minutes.
We'll be done. Yeah.
So they have a Fa'afafina. Fa'afafina is third gender in Polynesia, very much accepted by the whole society.
Okay.
Her passport says Johnny. And I hear everybody say Jaya. So I walk up to the group, my first introduction, I go, you want me to call you Jaya or Johnny? She goes, please call me Jaya. I said, you're Jaya. And the whole group had like a relief. And she went, oh my God, I love you, coach. Thank you. You're the first Palangi, which means white man, that has accepted me. They've had New Zealand coaches, German coaches. They refused to call her by Jaya and called her Johnny. So that was one. Because players accepted her. In that culture, the whole team went like, oh, okay, this dude is okay. The second one, I'm convincing, took me a week to bring the goalkeeper that gave up 31 goals against Australia to get him out of retirement. And because he said to me on the phone, coach, I play Australia every day on my Xbox. It's just me against Australia, but I beat him 32-0 every time, he goes, every night. But when I walk through the city, they go, oh, you're the guy that gave him 31 goals. So my son thinks I'm a loser. So I'm playing into, I'm telling you, we're going to win this, blah, blah. So it was a little bit like, what's that movie about Notre Dame?
Rudy.
Do it for the Rudy. Yeah, do it for the Gipper or for Rudy. So I became a little bit of a rah-rah thing. And he wins. And 10 minutes after the game, he cries. He goes, my son thinks I'm a hero. You know, those were great moments. The third one that was just came out of nowhere. I gave him a day off, so I go to the president. What's going on? He goes, oh, there's American football high school final. And rugby and football are bigger than soccer in the island. And there's a running back, lights out. So I go to the president. I want that guy. He says, he's never played soccer. I go, give me 2 weeks. The only thing I need to do is I need somebody in midfield that can fucking play a ball over the top with all these teams play, static, high lines. And they go, this guy will have fucking breakaways. So he gets the breakaway, scores the winner at 17. Only played 2 weeks of soccer. Scores the winner. No, but listen to this. 10 years later, he goes, coach, I'm in Miami. I'm the starting safety for the Oakland Raiders who play the Dolphins. I got 2 tickets for you. Oh, how insane is that?
No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This has got to be, I mean, this has got to be the sequel. It's a story about his life, right? What's his name?
Yeah.
Do you know his name?
The unfortunate thing is that he was an introvert. So both in the documentary and in the movie, Tiger said the guy doesn't talk. I can't do anything with it. It's a great story, but I just can't weave it in. That was sadly missed in this whole thing, which was unbelievable. God, he went to a 2-year school and a 4-year school. It's the only way for men to get off the island, and it's a sad island, high unemployment rate, high drug and alcoholism, obesity. There's one tuna factory where everybody works in, basically.
Wow.
So, God.
Have you been back? Have you been back to American Samoa?
Jaya Solua, Nikki Salapua was the goalkeeper, and Shalom Luani, Luai. And if you type him in, he played for a few NFL games. NFL teams. I don't know. He's playing in another league right now. So, he was the starting safety for. And the funny thing is, he continued to play for a few years, and he's got 6 goals. So he's also the all-time leading goal scorer for American Samoa while he's playing American football in Luani, Shalom Shalom. I think Shalom Luani.
That's incredible, TR. I got to say, man, your career, it's been a winding path. You've obviously coached thousands, if not tens of thousands of players in your career. And, you know, us here at Major League Journeymen, we like to we like to build up all the journeymen out there. We would like to know if you've thought about maybe your top 3 or 4 journeymen that you've ever played with, ever coached, ever interacted with. This is for the culture of the pod right here.
Yeah. And I'm close to 30 teams where I played for and coached. I should be a good judge. And to be real honest, you have one guy on your podcast, which is a guy It started at Jaffa Pi Rough Riders. That's where he started. Then I just did it here. Gargan played for 12 teams. Gordo just under 10 at 9, and Dex is at 5 or 6. So I say right now,
we know about
Gargan at 3. I say, which is a sad one, Freddie Adu played for 15 fucking teams. Played in 3 consecutive World Cups. Sad story. I gave him a chance in 2014-15, my last coach at Tampa Bay Rowdies, and he still had something. And we connected, Freddie and I, we still talk. But talk about a journeyman.
Yeah.
Pretty sad, actually.
Let me say, TR, a journeyman who should not have been a journeyman. He was, hands down, one of the most talented players I ever saw in my life when he was 14, 15 years old, when we were in residency together, and that U20 World Cup in Canada, when he completely set the world on fire. He was an uber talent. And, they did a podcast on Freddie, and we've talked a little bit about kind of what happened and where it went wrong. And that was a big shame, because I thought he was bound to be a superstar.
Yeah, a great example, and we don't name names. And I thought with his agent, I go, dude, you don't know. Benfica, if you look at Socios, is one of the biggest clubs with incredible amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Take a step. He had 2 chances to go to the Netherlands, same club that Robbie Rogers and Michael went to, Heerenveen, after 2007 World Cup. Robbie gets homesick. Michael sticks with it, makes a step to the Bundesliga, Serie A. That's what Freddie needed to do, but they went for the money, obviously.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, new coach, he gets loaned out. I think he gets loaned out 5 times during his time at Benfica.
It's too much.
Ends up in Scandinavia, playing second division teams, in Greece, in even South America. Tries here again. Sad story, because you're right. He was extremely talented, and I think with the right guidance and the right people around him, he could have actually been pretty darn good.
And number one journeyman.
I don't know if he's a journeyman, but
we're pretty loose with the description or the definition of journeyman.
Ricardo Clark to me is like, although I don't know, he might have played only for 17, but Ricardo Clark somehow feels to me a journeyman. A great guy, by the way, who was so interesting, did so much dirty work for Freddie, Santino, Eddie Johnson, Mike McGee in midfield as the number 6 in that 2003 World Cup. Unbelievable, the ground he covered and things like that. I really liked him as a person and as a player. And
I think that's a great shout,
like
TR.
That is a great shout. I'll give you the recap.
Okay, I appreciate that.
TR, you got Metro Stars, San Jose Earthquakes, Houston Dynamo, Eintracht Frankfurt, Stayback Loan, back to the Dynamo, Columbus Crew. Currently, the head coach of Vancouver Whitecaps too. I would say that's he
pretty qualifies,
good.
And that's pretty good
credentials. Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm so happy that I actually, I get the approval from Gordo, from Ben, from Dax. I mean, awesome.
Well, hey, listen, we know that you're busy brunching with Messi down in Miami now. The radio broadcast and evening nights out with Fassbender and all your Hollywood friends. You and The Rock going out for drinks. But we appreciate you stopping by, Thomas, and tell the fellow journeymen where they can find the movie or where they can watch on. It's this Friday, right? November 17th.
It opens up all over the world on November 17th in a theater next to you. That's from New Zealand to South Africa to LA to Dallas to whatever. Yeah.
Where will you be watching it?
I'll be on a fucking bus taking 15 Dutch companies to IMG, the Buccaneers, the Lightning, and I set up a tour at the University of South Florida, which I think is that Friday, actually. So on one hand, I'm glad because since this strike, I've done so much because Fassbender couldn't do it, but I'm a little bit over it, guys. I'm like, get this fucking thing out and go from there. I'm getting nothing out of it, no royalties, nothing. And I'm like, with you guys, it's great. But I run into most that don't do their research. They go, oh, we didn't know you were in American Samoa. And, what's this film all about?
Sure.
So Disney, go make some more money, Send some my way, by the way.
Well, we'll pass along your address. We'll keep fighting the good
Dex,
fight.
how much is that Messi autographed jersey worth now?
How much you willing to pay for it?
That might actually cost you a transfer somewhere. I'm telling you.
I know, man. I know. That was a cool experience, man. What a guy.
No, I know.
That's hanging up above my bed, by the way. The wife's not too thrilled with it.
I'm just busting your balls.
That's what she thinks about every night. What are you talking about, Tex?
Yeah.
She's thrilled.
But, the way the press dealt with that was absolutely bullshit.
Yeah.
Every player, win or loss in the world, from Brazil national team to Dex and his team, sure they want to exchange their jerseys with Messi. And then you get that kind of crazy insane because you lost, you didn't care. And I know you do care. So, hey, you guys over there, give the guy a little bit more money, 3 years, and that's it.
The real ones know, TR. Thanks, man. We really appreciate you coming on, man. You had some great stories. What a life, what a career. And honestly, I think it should be acknowledged all that you've been able to do and accomplish with youth soccer and just soccer in general here in the U.S. You're a legend, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Thank you for having me, guys.